Good afternoon, and very good afternoon. Welcome to VUEGRAPHY, welcome to the show. And today we are going to talk about lenses. Yes, today I thought to share my experience uh, with this awesome lens. This is Nikon 200 to 500 f 5.6 constant aperture lens. So its aperture maximum is at 5.6, which is from 200 to 500 regardless the focal length. So before I start talking about this lens, let me share with you briefly my experience with telephoto lenses and how I see telephoto lenses um, um, and into the into the general photography. Well, see, you have to understand in this way. People think telephoto lenses mostly for sports, action, wildlife. Usually, if it's sports, action, birding, animal, you need 400, 500, or something more than 200 ml. Uh, I see differently. Of course, these focal lengths from 200 above all the way to 600, 800, they are all meant for shooting something, which you cannot get close to. So you are shooting from far, very far, very far. That's where you need these focal lengths. But I shoot even landscape with this lens, and I shoot religiously with this 200 to 500, like literally. Oh, by the way, there is one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to keep posting the sample images in between the video while I'm keep sharing my experience with you guys. So in the form of slides, the images will pop up on your screen like right now, and it will keep coming on and on and on. The reason I'm going to do this time is because I start getting feedback that we need some sample images. The sample images that I shared in my previous video, which was about D700, which was not sufficient. So I thought, okay, let me do one thing. I try to keep posting the sample images, which I took personally using this 200 to 500, and you keep getting the feedback about that lens and how it renders and stuff like that. Now let's talk about the telephoto lenses. My very first telephoto lens was 150 to 500. That was from Sigma, and it was called Bigma at that time because it comes with Bigma, yeah, 150 to 500. And then there was another version come which is 50 to 500. Uh, it was okay lens, nothing to be fancy about. But when yeah, so my apologies, sorry. My first lens, telephoto lens, was 50 to 500, and I was like, okay, that's good, that's good, and but it was okay lens, nothing extraordinary, nothing like that. Then I found 150 to 600 contemporary. Sigma announced two basically categories of the same focal length, 150 to 600, which was contemporary, which was cheaper, around 1200, $1,500 something, and another was sports edition, which was much more beefier, much more heavier, because it comes with physically, those. It was much more robust when it comes to field because it was built for this kind of environment where you shoot roughly these lenses. So it was more kind of a weather sealed, better weather sealed than contemporary. So sports was expensive, but of course it offers you extra protection when it comes to weather sealing, fast, a little bit here, faster autofocus system on the same camera and compared to contemporary. Contemporary is much more consumer kind of a lens, but again those lenses were not much fast aperture. Their maximum aperture was like 4.5, then which narrowed down to 6.3, so it was variable aperture lenses. But I bought Sigma 150 to 600, and I guess that was my worst mistake because I was shooting bird in Al Qudra Lake in Dubai, and it was my new experience with the lens, and I was like, man, I shot a bird with the grass, those bushes, you know, and the background. Tried to get a frame, and I got the frame. I, but when I pressed the playback button, I was stunned because the lens did not render the background what it's supposed to be. It was more like a fire rather than the bushes. And that thing really made me annoyed big time. Like big time. Because it's supposed to render the way it is. It wasn't. And I started noticing the background rendition totally out. And that thing really put me off with the Sigma lenses. I already had two incidents before with Sigma lenses. One was 35 1.4, 35 mm 1.4. Same issue, background radiation was very bad. Second was 120 to 300 f2.8. Yeah, that big heavy glass. I kept that lens for quite some time because of course it was 2.8 from 120 to 300. Nobody else on earth was making that focal length with that much aperture, costed aperture f2.8. But that lens has severe build quality issue. The lens hood, which was mounted on the lens, I'm talking about 120 to 300 f2.8 is polarization from Sigma, that lens. So the lens hood on when I'm trying to mount, there was a screw, so you have to adjust the screw so it get tight. That screw with the assembly got off within 2 months. I bought the brand new. So the assembly of the screw mount of the hood was off, and I tried to fix it. It keep getting off. That thing really annoyed me, like literally. And then after a couple of years, I started noticing further tears about from that lens physically, and I thought, okay, it's time to say goodbye, and I sold that lens to somebody. And I mentioned everything to that buyer that the lens hood is off and I'm selling because of this. I was honest, and after a week or 10 days, the same buyer sent me a text and asked me that can you please take your lens back and give me back my money. And I said, sorry man, the deal is done. I'm sorry, I cannot take this lens back. So this tells the severe quality control issue with Sigma lenses. I'm not saying that Sigma lenses are bad. 85 1.4 is really good. 105 1.4 is really good, but most of their lenses I prefer not to talk. So I sold that 150 to 600 contemporary, and I decided I'm going for this big boy, 200 to 500 f 5.6, and I think that's the best decision that I ever made when it comes to photography, when it comes to buying lenses. This lens is with me for nearly 5 years, and I literally abuse this lens like anything. Uh, there are so many good things about that lens. First of all, yes, it's not 600, it's 500, but the magnification that you get between 500 to 600 is something not extraordinary, which makes you switch this lens, makes you sell this lens. It's not much. Using high megapixel cameras, you can crop the image and you can still get that feeling. I do this all the time. I never felt that I need 600 mm like before, because even with 25, even with 12 megapixel D3s, yeah, D3s, which is this, yeah, it was mount on that, which you have seen before. I'm not sure. Let's see, I'm gonna put on the editing or not. So this, I put this lens on D3s all the time, and I shoot a lot of landscapes, lot of sunrise, lot of sunset, and still I never felt that I need 600 mm or I need more megapixel to capture the frame, because I care more about the statics rather than the numbers. So this lens, first of all, is consumer grade. It's consumer grade. The price of this lens newly around roughly $1,300. All right, you find this cheap on eBay, but you probably won't find this thing easily available, because this lens is so damn good that nobody wants to sell it. This is the reality. Yes, you have to check. If anybody is selling any gear so much in the market, it means that that gear is not good. That's why everybody wants to get rid of. And if you try to search a particular lens like this one and you're not able to find it, it means that this lens is so damn good that nobody wants to sell it. Period. So you won't find anybody to sell this unless the person wants to switch the brand. That's another story. So this is the consumer grade lens. All right, 200 to 500 f5.6. Its focus control is by 5 wire. It means that there is no knob over here, a lever which used to previously open the aperture, open and up, closing the aperture based on whatever you say. It's electronically controlled. Uh, the weather sealing of this lens, it's it's more than enough what you need. It's I use this lens in a rainy condition, in a dusty condition, and that thing is still kicking. Of course, you have to take care of the gears. You that's that's given. You have to take care of the gears. But I really throwing this lens around in my car all the time. It's been like literally abused. I literally abused this lens. Like for example, I'm not sure whether you can see this thing. I keep my this lens in my car in the corner of the in the trunk of my car like this in the corner. So that even just like this. So you can see that this is the original lens cap. This lens cap got this marking on the edges because it was on the surface of the car all the time. So probably you can see the edges has been roughed. So this tells I literally abuse this lens so much. Uh, it's in weightage, it's like it is a little heavy, of course, because we are talking about f5.6 constant aperture. So when it comes to 500, it's like this much long. All right, at 200, it's this much long. There is no lens creeping. So if you put it down, so normally lens creeping, lens get loose and it falls like this. It's not happening. There is no lens creeping. See, no lens creeping. So, but what are how this lens optically it is? I'm sure you have seen all the images in between by now. I'm so this can tell you the optical performance of that lens. This lens optically it's near to the center. It's super sharp. It's very sharp. At the edges, it's still not that sharp. And I don't blame, because technology comes with price. All right, and it's a consumer grade lens. But even considering the price point and considering the consumer grade product, it's better than its competitors. Period. I use Tamron, I use Sigma 150 to 600, I use Tamron 150 to 600 G2, and this lens really performed beyond what I was expecting. See, here's the thing. At the edges, if you think that these lenses are very much sharp at the edges, you won't get this kind of sharpness at a consumer grade lens from anybody. From Sigma, from Tamron, or from Nikon, or from Canon. You won't get, because again, technology comes with price. If you want sharp lenses, you have to pay. And you have to pay means you have to pay. There was another lens from Nikon which was 180 to 400 f4 with built-in 1.4 teleconverter. I used that lens, uh, and it was expensive lens, of course, but it was so damn sharp. I mean, damn, damn sharp. So if you engage the 1.4 teleconverter, that lens will become 230 mm, I guess, somewhere. Uh, it was 180, so 90, 270 something, or something 250. I don't know, you will see in the description. It was from near 230, 250 mm all the way to 560 mm f 5.6. And when I checked that lens, I was like, man, that lens exactly like this. That 180 to 400 f4 with 1.4 teleconverter engage almost equal become in terms of focal length and aperture to this lens. So why that lens is $13,000 and that lens is only $1,300, like tenth of the price. But again, that lens is super sharp. That lens autofocus is super snappier. Again, technology comes with price. So if you cannot afford that $13,000 lens, you can go with this lens. This lens is a consumer grade lens, and it gives you that flexibility, that approach that you thought that you cannot afford for going that expensive lens. This lens can give you that, but at the some uh, some caveats. And what are those caveats? The autofocus is not fast, like 180 to 400. It's not fast. It's moderate. If you think that you can go for birding and you can shoot a cheetah, by going to the African desert and you try to shoot cheetah, hunting the deer or the gazelle, that lens probably not going to make you all the shots in focus. That lens, this lens is kind of a slow, which are expected as per price point. But once it locks the focus, it's sharp. That's for sure. Uh, I already put so many bird images, or I'm going to put more bird images as a sample. I use this lens 200 to 500 with D500 religiously for birding, for shooting birding, period. Because that D500 gives me the almost same number of pixels per square millimeter like D850. So I'll get that kind of cropping from D850, from D500, and D500 has edge to edge autofocus point, so this lens can easily track the bird like this. And the most highlighting feature of this lens, it's not the sharpness, it's not the contrast, it's not something, it's its VR. Man, whoever designed this lens VR in Nikon, Nikon, please listen to, if you are watching my video, give that guy a raise. Give that guy a bonus. Whoever designed the VR of this lens. The VR of this lens, it's super. It's beyond super. Normally what happens, if you are at 500 mm, you are very much immune to shake. Even with the heavy cameras like this, alright, like D3S. At 500 mm, you are, very much shaky if you're trying to shoot the sunrise or sunset or an animal or bird, because your hand, a slight movement in your hand will make the scene totally out of the frame. What it does, once you engage, once you put that lens on any Nikon DSLR and you press half shutter, shutter release button. The VR of this lens gets started and it started stabilizing the image. I have shot without tripod, without monopod, at 500 mm with the minimum shutter speed 130 or 140, 1 over 30, 1 over 40, something like that. And I saw people claiming that they have shot without any tripod, without any monopod or any support. They have shot up to 1/10 of the second, which is really crazy. At 500 mm with VR engage. I'm not good at that, but still, whatever I could, uh, I did with my normal practice, the way I shoot, and I went up to 130, I believe, the shutter speed, 1 over 30 shutter speed, and I got sharp results from this lens because this lens VR is mind-boggling, literally, literally mind-boggling. Performance, the images from this lens is super, and I mean so much great that I'm not gonna sell this lens. No way, no way. This lens gives me so much. This lens basically helped me to evolve my photography, and I'm saying by heart because the versatility, the constant aperture 5.6, it helps me to explore the birding, the landscapes, the street photography in a way which I thought I could have never imagined, or I could have never captured those things. Constant 5.6 aperture. I don't have to worry about the bokeh or 6.3 or anything. VR, the highlighting feature of this lens, it's VR, vibration reduction. It's super awesome. I don't have to worry. I can easily, dial slow shutter speed and still get away with the sharp images. By the way, it's got a lock over here at 200 mm. So you can lock this lens at 200. So if you lock, it's not zooming. Now it's zooming. So it has these VR buttons. The VR button, infinity to 5 meter limit, and manual focus and override. It has 4 basically dials, 4. So even it's less in price, it has 4 switches. The number one is manual focus. You know what? I'll take a picture and put on the screen and then I'll start talking. So manual focus and autofocus. Second is full focus hunting or infinity to 6 meter. I always put infinity to 6 meters because I mostly shoot 6 meters and beyond. Alright, so that's how I shoot. So I don't need full because when I put the switch on full, it start focusing back and forth and I could have missed the shot. So I keep that switch to 6 meters and infinity. VR, I kept the VR on because that's awesome. And the last is normal sports. I put at normal sports when the subject is erratic and keeps moving. That's where I switch to sports. For normal, I put on normal. Uh, it doesn't have this that plate which you can use on tripod, so I have to put this external from the tripod. By the way, what's the filter thread? 95 mm. The front filter thread is 95 mm. Uh, this lens hood is very flexible. It's like I hit this lens so many times with the car, with the wall, with the door, and all the beating took by this lens hood. All of them. It's very kind of a rubbery. It's very flexible. So It's not getting off like Sigma even after 5 years. So that's it. And it's much cheaper and much better build quality than Sigma Contemporary or Sigma Sports Edition, that 120 to 300. The rubber, if you have seen the rubber, this rubber will tell you how much I have used this lens, like literally. The focus ring of this lens is over here. It's over here. This is zoom, this is focus. So I'm shooting like this, and I think I am not able to just want to quickly focus. I just move with my finger, and it quickly gets in focus. The focus throw on this lens is not much. It's like 180-degree. The focus throw from minimum focus to infinity focus. So there is a marker over here. So yeah, 180-degree. The focus through is. So that's it. I'm going to put some more sample images in the end of the video, but uh, uh, I tried to put some best shots that I have taken from this lens throughout the video, which you have seen by now. But I have shot flowers with it. I have shot, of course, birds, but mostly I've shot sunset, sunrise from this lens, and that's my all main go-to lens. Sharpness from this lens at 500 mm, it's super. It's really super. At 200 mm, you may find the corners not that much sharp. 500 mm, sharp across. Period. I am so much happy, so much satisfied with this lens that I think I don't need that 180 to 400 f4 with 1.4 teleconverter. Maybe in future, but still, for daily general purpose photography, this is the best lens. Period. People, go for Sigma because of extras 100 mm, but they don't realize. Again, see, any photography, especially the lenses. I am very critical about lenses. And I realize that lenses is a whole package. You don't have to just look for how sharp it is, how sharp it is. Just don't talk like a parrot. Okay? How sharp it is, how sharp it is. No. It's a complete package. Build quality, the usability, the functions, sharpness, contrast, VR, acutance, contrast, the compatibility of with the camera to recall the functions by pressing the button and all that. That makes a lens a perfect lens. And based on the price point, this lens is nearly a perfect lens for a consumer like you and me to shoot sports, action, wildlife. You put that lens on D500 and you will be screaming like Jim Carrey, "Somebody stop me!" like he said in The Mask. So, yeah, you will be screaming like that somebody stop me with this lens and D500. So, that's my overall review about this lens. And I just can't say enough about this lens, to be very honest. I have used this lens more than my 80 to 200. I rarely use 80 to 200. Now, I use this lens all the time. All the time. By the way, this lens doesn't have any function button, so don't expect. There is no function button. Of course, there is no function button. It's a consumer grade lens. It's not a pro lens. Pro lens do comes with features like dedicated function button. the way I have used this lens, man, I am very rough with my gears. And I don't have to worry about this lens because I know this lens will last much longer than those competitors. And, and I am spot on right. This lens survived more than the competitors. Those lenses were run out of their energy in less than 2 years, and this is nearly more than 5 years. And this lens still working like it's brand new, literally. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll try to keep making videos about the lenses because I usually don't make lenses reviews. I don't have latest lenses. I'm an old fashioned guy, manual focus lenses, so I'll try to make those. But this is uh, this is the lens which most prosumers or consumer people who wants to go for sports action wildlife. This is the lens for you. Yeah, if you're a Nikon shooter, of course. So this is the lens for you. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the future with some new stuff, with some new content, with some new video. Till then, take care.